Anybody who usually dies on this island gets buried in that cemetery. My father's there. My mother will be there. My wife's father's there. The people on this island know it's there, and I think it's something that you have them close. There's all sorts of prominent people that were on this island, and these streets are named after them that are buried in that cemetery. I drive past that cemetery all the time, and I always see that view all the time. So it's something that if you're on this island and you want to be buried there, you know you have this view, and you know what you're going to have the view for eternity. If there is such a thing, there's a whole nother thing, but you do have this view.
We became part of the city a little bit over 100 years ago, right at the turn of the century in 1900, or right around that time when the Northeast Bronx became part of the city, when it was taken over from Westchester.
And there's not a lot of people that are even living in the Bronx that know that this place is here. So when you say it's the Bronx, I don't technically see it as the Bronx.
Being born on the island was the criteria for being called a clam digger. And in those days, no matter where you lived, many times people were born in their homes. But consequently, as time went on, people were born in hospitals. They could be lifelong city islanders, and then they started to change the rules a little bit to where they made it where if you just lived on the island all your life, you could be called a clam digger.
Okay, well, I might say that I was born on City Island, about 4 streets down from here, and Dr. Martin did the job on New Year's Day, 1932, in the front upstairs bedroom.
New York is one of the best places in the world to live. It is the center of the world, but sometimes it can get very rushed for people, and there can be a lot of pressure. City Island is the closest place that you can actually take a step out. It's like being in a crowded room and then just stepping outside the room and you're free and you're a little bit more open.
But when I was small, most of the people were employed on City Island, and it was kind of a very insular island. My father said when my brother and I grew up that we would work off the island and not like these clam diggers.
Me and Tommy grew up. I mean, when my first boat was like 10, 11 years old, and I'm putting around here. Tommy, the same thing.
And it was a great place when I got married, and my wife and I talked about moving to Long Island or out to Jersey, and she says, "What, are you crazy? You know, you've always been here on the water," so we stayed here.
We didn't care about going away on vacation. Didn't matter. This was our vacation.
And I learned to swim. I had a kayak at a young age. I did a lot of fishing, and I've always had some kind of a boat.
It's close-knit, it's been close-knit, it's gone through changes, but it still seems to come back to the same roots. And it is like a small town. 1.5 miles long, it has to be a small, surrounded by water. You don't have much else, so. And that's basically the way it's been since years. I mean, you know, going way back. I mean, it's always been that way.
There is somewhat of a social diversity here, although for the most part, it's a median income community.
Again, I was in the sailmaking industry. I loved it, you know. There wasn't a lot of benefits. You might have been highly skilled, but you had no benefits. You had no pension, you had no medical, so you had to get out.
And it's close to the city. I worked 43 years for Con Edison in the city, and I could hop on a bus and be in the city in less than an hour.
If you look at where it is now, the nautical and the industry has sort of gone away.
At one time we thought that City Island could only be developed, it would reach its saturation point. And then you discovered that once everything was filled up, all they started to do was tear down what was there and build something else.
On the water, I think you have to enjoy the water. If you don't have any kind of enjoying the water, then you're not going to live here.
The things that brought people to City Island originally, the water, just being out here like we are right now, that keeps going. So
I think it's a great place to grow up, and I look back on my days, probably the happiest times of my life when I was 16 years old on this island. I thought it was great because I knew nothing else, because water was in my veins, and like I said, when we were kids, that's all we thought about. Our worst scenario was low tide.